Oh. Hey, everybody. I am so sorry to not know how to use technology, but I've done my best, and I am just so sincerely apologetic to have wasted 25 minutes of everybody's time. But if it's okay with everybody, I'd still love to do a class. I know a lot of you guys are going to have to leave, but Merry Christmas anyway. So if you can stay, I'm here with my friend Kara, and we wanted to do a special holiday class. So if you have milk products, maybe we can do it anyway. I was going to do it on my phone so that you guys could hear me. I have mics on, but it was like imminent failure. I couldn't make it work. So hopefully you can hear me as we're going through it. I'm going to move my camera a little bit closer, and let's just start to melt if that's okay with everybody else. Nice to see so many names of people that I know, and welcome, and thank you for coming. And so let's go ahead and get started. Talk about needing to eliminate stuck stress is having the challenge of technology. Okay, so what I would encourage you guys to do, you can either sit like Kara is sitting, you could even sit up on your roller, or you could be kneeling on the floor. And we're going to start with a mini softball hand treatment. I'm even going to bring this even a little bit closer for you guys. I'm going to bring it down a little bit. So the first thing that you want to do is you want to squeeze the ball a couple of times in one hand and then squeeze it in the other. And the way that we work with melt is to use assessment before you treat. So the first thing I want you to do is assess your grip. Think about the strength of one hand, think about the strength of the other. Okay, and just notice if one hand has a stronger grip or if you're feeling tension in either arm, and just see what it feels like from left to right if there's any differences. We're going to do 3 compression techniques, and these are the same types of techniques we're going to do on the hands and the feet and the body using the roller. Place your ball down onto the ground. You're going to place the ball at the base of your thumb pad, and once you're there, you're going to use your other hand as the weight on the arm so that this arm can stay completely relaxed. We're going to do a move called gliding. So gliding is a preparatory technique. What I want you to see is that we're just bringing the ball back and forth at the base of the hand, like as if you're creating a smiley face. And if you keep your finger down onto the ground as you do this technique, it's a way to keep the pressure constant and consistent. That's what you're looking for, is consistent pressure. Okay, so once you do this for about 15 seconds, we're going to do another technique called shearing. So I want you to bring the ball back to your thumb pad, maintain the pressure, and in one small spot, I want you to create a shear effect. So small circles, or you can think about kneading dough, so kind of pinning the skin and just creating a little bit of circular motions. Or you can do an indirect shear. You could compress and just wiggle your thumb. And the secret is anywhere that you do a shear technique, once you do a shear, just compress and wait. Give it a second to adapt. And then swap sides. So you're going to go with the other hand, same thing, base of the hand, and you're going to start gliding. And same thing, the secret here is to try to keep your muscles relaxed. So I always say compression techniques are kind of the lazy weighted components of melt. So not really working too hard with this. So try to keep your shoulder nice and relaxed. And then bring the ball back to your thumb pad. Same thing, pin the skin and create a small circular motion. Or again, you could kind of think of kneading dough to the left, to the right, pulling it back, moving it forward. Again, you could go back to circles. And then again, you could compress and wiggle your thumb. And then we're just going to wait there for a second and give the tissue a moment to adapt. And then we're going to do finger rinsing. So you're going to place your hand down onto the ground, and you're going to take the ball at the base of your fingers, and you're going to push the ball over your fingers from the base of your finger to the tip of your finger. And once you get the hang of that motion, what I always like to do is try to go up the arm that's doing the rinsing. I'm going up the wrist. So you can see I keep that ball going well beyond the fingers. And the same concept here is you just want to keep consistent pressure. It doesn't need to be very heavy, but it is one direction. So think about rinsing like pushing fluid in a tub of water. You go all in one direction. And then let's try it on the other hand, same thing. And one of the things I always talk about with connective tissue, with fascia, is that collagen is the fluid system in the body, and it's primarily, fascia is primarily that collagen matrix. So as you're working on your fingers, You might actually find that if you do this daily, your nails will grow like weeds. They will grow firmer and longer faster, just because you're stimulating that collagen synthesis in the fingers. Okay, last technique is called friction. And we're going to do all these techniques on the hand or on the feet as well. So last technique, you just bring the ball in your hands and just really, really lightly rub the ball. Take some nice breaths in and out. One more of those. And then let that go. And then you just reassess. Squeeze the ball a couple of times in one hand. And again, just kind of notice this, the strength feel like you can curl your fingers over a little easier. Is there less tension in your forearms or your fingers? And if you're making those kind of changes, it's a good indication that you have enough hydration in the tissue to actually make quick changes in your own nervous system and your body's ability to gain that strength back. Okay, so we're going to do a foot treatment. And actually, I want to do a full softball foot treatment. And what I want you guys to look at here are the points on the foot, right? So we're going to be compressing all of these points at the center of your foot, over the toes, and at the knuckles of your forefoot, 3, 3A, and then 4 and 5. Okay, so we're going to be compressing all of these points. So I'm going to have you guys stand on up. And we're going to do the similar effect of assessing. And we're going to assess a couple of things that are a little unique, which is what we call the autopilot. So what I want you to do is look down at your feet. I want you to put your feet about hip width apart. And once you've got your feet there, I'm going to see if you guys can see me for a second. Put your arms at your side and just close your eyes. And I'm going to come on up to make sure that you guys can hear me. So with your eyes closed, without fidgeting or adjusting or moving about, with your eyes closed, I want you to start to notice your stance efficiency. Okay, so your autopilot is what's stabilizing you. First thing I want you to do is notice your footprints. Notice if your footprints feel balanced from left to right, or if you're noticing one foot feels like it has more weight or surface area. Just notice what you feel. Don't try to change anything. Scan up your legs. And if I say, hey, relax your thighs and your butt cheeks, or quit locking out your knees, if you feel like you just let muscles go, you're now understanding what it feels like when your autopilot is functioning inefficiently. Your body's working really hard to keep you standing. Imagine how hard it has to work to move you. Draw your awareness down your legs. Now you put your feet side by side. Notice, do your legs feel side by side? Are you kind of feeling like one leg is staggered in front of the other? Notice that. And then finally, lift all 10 toes off the ground. When you lift your toes off the floor with your eyes closed, it triggers a response in the nervous system to try to find the archways, what we call the domes and arches from the feet to the crown of the head. Let's see how balanced your autopilot is to keep your masses balanced over your feet. Don't judge yourself. Just take a nice breath in. And on an exhale, drop your toes. And just notice if your body drifts forward. And if it does, again, no problems. We just want to see if we can improve our body's stability. So what I'm going to have you guys do, I'm going to angle my camera down a little bit so you can really see what I'm doing with my feet. And what you're going to do is take your ball. And I'm going to have you guys mirror me. So you're going to do it under your right foot. You're going to take your left foot about 1.5 feet away from the ball. You're going to take your opposite forefoot in front of the ball so that the ball tickles the center of your foot. And then like a cat, I want you to begin to gently shift your body weight left to right and keep your knees soft. What I like to do is really think I'm keeping my forefoot on the ground and I'm just letting my heel drop back. It's like I'm pumping back and forth. And then just ease pressure in. Try to find a place where you can tolerate the pressure. And then just move your joints around. It doesn't matter how you move. You could just take your arms up overhead. You could wiggle your fingers. Doesn't matter. Just move all of your joints for about 10 seconds. It's an easy way to help your nervous system find your center of gravity in relationship to that foot. Okay, so you're going to come on back up again. Take your left foot. You're going to step backward, and we're going to bring that ball to what's called position point number 2, the ball of the big toe. And we're going to go across all of these knuckles. So you're just going to go ahead and compress the ball of the big toe, and then step backward. Find the knuckle that coincides with your second toe. Rock her forward, and then decompress. Try to find your third knuckle. Give it a push, and then decompress, and go to the fourth knuckle and push. And decompress and go to the pinky knuckle and push. And then decompress. Okay, so now we're going to go to the inside arch, halfway between your big toe and your heel. You're going to go ahead and give it a push. And then decompress. You're going to move that ball up just an inch and give another little push. And then you're going to go to the outside arch of your foot, halfway between your pinky toe and your heel. And then you're going to go just in front of your heel. And we're going to maintain that pressure We're just going to ease back half of our body weight so that both feet have equal pressure. And we're going to go through the techniques that we did on the hand. The first one's called gliding. Just let your heels swagger back and forth. Try to get the pressure constant on the ball, and then start to zigzag that ball all the way to the back of your heel, and then slowly work that ball back. And when you get the ball back to that point just in front of your heel, I want you to pin the ball, and just like we did at the thumb pad, I want you to try to pin the skin and create that little friction, that shearing technique where you're actually shearing the tissue on the underlying surfaces of your skin.
This is taking me forever, but I think I just did it for the first
time.
time.
Okay, so go ahead and compress and wait. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to rinse. We're going to go from the ball of the big toe, and we're going to push. And then we're going to decompress. We're going to go to the second knuckle, and we're going to push. And then we're going to go to the third knuckle, and we're going to push it through. And we're going to go to the fourth knuckle, and we're going to push. And we're going to go to the fifth knuckle, and we're going to push. Give me 3 more underneath your foot anywhere you want. So just 3 more rinsing passes, any which way you want to do it. And then the last technique was friction. So this one is sometimes tricky. You could always hold on to a wall. You're going to balance on one foot and just really lightly rub the bottom of your foot. And just breathe in and breathe out. And then go ahead and let that go. I always like to do a quick check-in. So just go ahead and shake out your feet for a second. Put your feet side by side. Put your arms at your side. And just close your eyes for a moment. And what I want you to see if you can notice is the hydration changes that we're trying to make. So fluids are driving up through the connective tissue from your feet. And if you stimulate it properly, you're going to feel the leg that's hydrated. You'll feel it's more integrated and rooted into the floor. Only the leg that you haven't melted, you might actually notice that you feel your hip, knee, and ankle. So if you're not sure what you feel, open up your eyes. And another easy way to just assess change is if you just hinge forward for a moment, notice the tensional pull on the back of your legs. When fascia is hydrated, it'll feel like a more seamless tensional pull from your hip to your heel. If it's dehydrated, you'll kind of feel like you're hanging off the tendons of your calf, hamstring, and ankles. And then take your time and round yourself on all the way up. Let's see if we can do it on the other side. So same thing, you're going to go ahead and grab that ball. Again, you're going to take your opposite foot. So your right foot's about 1.5 feet away from the ball. You're going to bring your forefoot in front of the ball, and nice and slowly, you're going to send that left foot down onto the ball. And again, if you keep your knees nice and soft, and think of keeping the forefoot on the ground and just pumping the ball about 5 to 10 times. This central part of your foot is related to your diaphragm. Super important area, right? We need that diaphragm to move, so breathe as you're doing it. Land on the ball, and then move your joints around. Again, it doesn't matter how you move, just move the joints for a few seconds. Let your brain figure out where's the center of that foot in relationship to all the other joints of your body. Come on back up again. You're going to take your opposite foot. We're going to step backward. And again, we're going to go through those points. So ball of the big toe, we're going to soften the knee and give it a push. And watch how I kind of step forward, and then I step back. And I go to that second knuckle, and I step forward, and I step back. And sometimes I really like to flare my toes so that I really get the movement and the mobilization of the knuckles as it releases. And I go to that fourth knuckle, and then I go to my pinky knuckle. And then we're going to go to the inside arch of your foot. Remember, that's halfway between your big toe and your heel. Again, just step down. That one might be sensitive. That one's related to the spiral line, so it's related to digestion. And then decompress, move the ball up a little bit and compress again. That's a cervical point, also part of the spiral line. And then you go to the outside arch of your foot, halfway between your pinky toe and your heel. And then we're going to go just in front of your heel. Okay, so now again, you're going to take half of the body weight off, so you have this 50-50 split, and keeping the big toe on the ground, you're going to try gliding. So stay just in front of the heel and really try to find precision in the pressure. So try not to let the pressure change as you zigzag it. And then once you feel like you have consistent pressure, you zigzag that ball all the way to the back of your heel. And then nice and slow, you work your way back. And when you come back to that point just in front of your heel, we're going to, again, pin the skin against the ball and create that little wiggling. So really try to think of a shear as pinning the skin and dragging the underlying substances between the underlying part of your skin and the bones. So really kind of creating that soft knee and that tiny wiggle. And then again, compress and wait. I always think about that like working fluid into a sponge. Then you squeeze the sponge out with that compression. And then you let it go so we get the fill effect. And then you go from toe to heel. right? So rinsing also is a consistent pressure. The difference is that you're going in one direction. So this is what creates, scientifically, it's called a piezoelectric charge. There's a mechanotransduction, taking a compression and mechanical force and turning it into cellular exchange, which is kind of a cool thing that you can do that in your body from the skin surface. Last one. And then we're going to create friction. Now, anytime I do friction, I do it on both sides. And when I'm done, I create it on one side. And what I do notice is how I balance and how I move my leg. And then I swap sides, same thing. I notice how I balance and how I move my leg. And I like that balance to be cohesive from left to right. So just again, kind of noticing what you have here. We're going to go back to the other side again. Nice breaths in and out. And then we're going to do one more time on the other side. And same thing. Nice breath in. Nice breath out. Okay. And then go ahead and set that ball aside. Put your feet side by side again. And again, rest your arms at your side. And again, what I want you to do is notice, do you feel your footprints are more balanced than when you started? So notice if there's better surface area on both feet. Scan up your legs. If I say again, relax your thighs and your butt cheeks, notice if your body is just more relaxed. That's a good indication that the autopilot has a better signal to the center of gravity. It's more efficient, right? It doesn't have to work as hard. Draw your awareness down your legs. If you started out feeling like your legs were staggered, notice if your legs feel more side by side. And then finally, lift all 10 toes off the ground. And notice if your body kind of shifted back a little bit faster on that one. If that's happening, that's a good indication that your body's trying to find your upright posture. It's just a little behind you. And then take a breath in, and on an exhale, drop your toes to the ground. And notice if your drift is less. And if you notice that drift is less, open up your eyes. You're seeing how just changing a little bit of hydration through the body can make changes throughout your entire neurofascial system. I'm going to see if anybody has any questions, but come on down onto the ground. I know you guys are asking like big questions. The one thing I would tell you is if you are going to do this next piece of the class, if you don't have a melt roller, roll up a towel or a yoga mat. You don't want to be on a hard surface on your spine when we go through rebalance. But I'm going to have Kara come over here, and I'm going to use her as a demo. And we're going to go through a class so that I'm sure that you guys can hear me. So I'm just going to have her. You can get rid of your antlers if you want, although they are adorable.
I didn't even remember I had them on.
So go ahead and with Kara, go ahead and lie on your back with your palms faced up and your arms and legs extended. No, on your back, on the floor, hon. Oh, you're going to do a rest assess. Don't watch Kara.
Don't watch.
She's excited. Okay, so just how Kara is, you're going to lie on your back, palms up, arms and legs extended. And I want you to just focus on breathing in and breathing out. Just breath. Inhale, noticing when you inhale how your body expands. And then as you exhale, noticing how your body relaxes. Okay, so again, on the inhale, notice how your body expands. And on an exhale, notice how your body settles back in. Okay, so to do a body scan, you want to learn how to use body sense. And so I'm going to invite you to just give yourself permission to go into your body and sense what you feel. Don't fidget, don't adjust, just let your body rest. I want you to use your body sense and notice your masses and spaces. Masses are on the ground, like your head, your ribs, and your pelvis. Spaces are lifted off the ground, like the neck and low back. So I want you to start in your upper body and just notice first, is there any tension in your shoulders or your arms that you could relax? Again, if the autopilot's functioning inefficiently, you'll notice that bracing. I want you to notice your head, arm, and torso position. Notice if your head feels centered or if you're feeling a little bit of accumulative stress with your head tipped off to one side. Or perhaps you're noticing one arm is more weighted on the floor. And in your torso, if we have a lot of accumulative stress living in our shoulder girdle, it's one of the primary areas where stuck stress likes to live, you're going to feel most or all of your back weight way up into the upper part of your back. But the mid-rib wall below the shoulder blades, you'll feel is a little tense and lifted. So notice if you're feeling more weight in the girdle, less in the rib wall. Now, if you're not sure what you feel, just slowly turn your head left and right. And you can evaluate 3 things for accumulative stress. 1, do you feel like you turn your head more to the left or more to the right? Do you have pain when you get to the end range? Or do your shoulders move for you to turn your head? So just bring your head back to center and notice what you feel. Carrie, you have stuck stress up there?
Oh, yeah.
I can see it actually. Okay, so second thing thing you want to notice is your diaphragm. So I'm going to put a finger in Kara's navel. What you want to notice is from where your navel is, and feel free to touch your belly button, but not your low back. If you have a lot of accumulative stress actually around the diaphragm, which is common for most of us just from day-to-day living, if there's a lot of accumulative stress, you'll feel more of an arch and a lift above the belly button instead of below. So just notice if the arch of your back seems to go well beyond your navel. Make a note if you feel that calm and in balance. And then if you are touching your navel, go ahead and take your hands away from your body and begin to notice your lower body masses and spaces. If you have a lot of accumulative stress living in the neural core, it's going to alter your pelvic positioning, and that's going to displace all of the lower body masses. So in your pelvis, if you're feeling like you're lying on your tailbone rather than two evenly weighted butt cheeks, or if the back of thigh masses feel more like spaces off the ground, or if your calf mass feels unevenly weighted, or perhaps you're noticing the knee space is unevenly lifted or the ankle space as well, unevenly lifted. And then notice the angle of your feet without looking at your legs. Do your feet feel like they're naturally turned out like a letter V, like northeast, northwest? Or does it feel like your feet are turned out to the sides of the room? Or more importantly, do your toes feel like they're pointed away from your ankles? If you're noticing those things, no worries, just make a mental note of what imbalances you feel. And the accumulative stress on our connective tissue not only alters the fine balance of the body, it can actually alter our autopilot's connection to our center of gravity. And to evaluate that one, divide yourself into a left and a right half. Just notice if you feel balanced from left to right, or if it feels like one entire side of your body is more weighted or one leg feels longer than the other. If you're noticing that, make a mental note, because we're going to see if we can eliminate some of the accumulative stress in your connective tissue to get your autopilot back on track to finding your center. I want you to commit 4 common imbalances to memory. Just remember this. If you lie on your back and you feel all your back weight's against your shoulder blades, your mid back is in a high tensional arch, your tailbone is on the ground more than butt cheeks, or the back of thigh masses feel off the ground, those are the common imbalances that end up altering our neural core efficiency, our own core stability, and it destabilizes our neck and low back. So just remember if you have any of those. Okay, so we're going to do the rebalance sequence. I kind of need to do the rebalance sequence after the stress I had trying to get on YouTube. Thank you very much. But go ahead and watch Kara. She's going to sit at the end of her roller, and she's going to kind of lean back. You'll see how she just kind of tucks it underneath her buttock, and she's going to roll herself on back onto the roller. Super graceful. Yeah, so it's beautiful. And you want to have your knees just about hip width apart, knees bent, feet flat on the floor. Touch the top of your head. Make sure your antlers have landed onto the top of your roller. And then the first thing we're going to do is place our hands down onto the ground, and we're going to begin with gentle rocking. So you're just going to allow your masses to gently rock, and you're just going to catch yourself with your hands in your forearm. Now, gentle rocking is all of the masses tipping. So you want to really feel like you're catching yourself with your arm and allowing your head, your ribs, and your pelvis to all just simultaneously tip and rock from left to right. This is a reconnect technique. It's a way to help your autopilot reacquire its connection to your center of gravity just by instigating a little bit of falling, if you will. We're challenging our balance on an unstable surface. So now come back to a center point. Another technique we're going to try is called the tuck and tilt. So Kara's going to go ahead and place her hands. You see how she's got her fingertips on her pubic bone, heels of her hands on her pelvis. And we're going to begin to tuck our pelvis so our pubic bone curls to the nose. That's going to lose some of your low back curve. And then we're going to tilt the pelvis. So we're pushing the pubic bone away from the belly button to find that low back curve again. So check this out. As Kara tucks, what I want you to notice is, are you pushing into your feet, squeezing your butt cheeks, or lifting your hips? If you're noticing any of those things, cut those out. Try to keep your feet light on your tuck. And then as you untuck your pelvis and you go to your tilt, notice if your ribs want to follow you. And if you're feeling like your ribs travel with you, no worries. Just put your hands on your rib cage, and you're going to continue to tuck and then tilt your pelvis. And you might find that without pushing into your feet or moving your ribs, it's a very small motion. But this is another reconnect technique. It helps your autopilot reconnect to your center of gravity by actually acquiring this differentiated motion. So try to think about what's staying stable more than what's moving, and you'll actually achieve that outcome. So remember these 2 moves. Tucking, sometimes I call that a sad dog pose, like a dog sticking its tail between its leg. Tilting, sometimes I call the Playboy bunny or happy bunny pose, like you're a little antler trying to make your tail look a little bit more lifted for the holidays. Okay, so just remember those 2. Try it one more time. Tucking, that elongates the low back, curls the pubic bone towards the nose. Tilting increases the low back curve slightly. The back of the pelvis lands to the top of the roller. Find somewhere in the middle. We're going to use those 2 moves later in another sequence. Third technique called 3D breath breakdown. You're going to place one hand on your chest, one hand on your belly, and you're going to begin to take 3 slightly slower than normal inhalations in a way that makes you feel both of your hands expand. So the belly and the chest expand on the inhale, and then on the exhale, everything comes back to midline. So I want you to feel like you're breathing in 2 dimensions, from a midline up to both hands and to the back body in equal timing, and then exhale and return it back in. And again, you're going to take a nice slow breath in, and then a nice slow breath out. Okay, and your next breath, take your hands onto the sides of your ribs. And in the same fashion, this time I want you to try to breathe from a midline out to the sides of your body, breathing a slower than normal inhalation to find width in the torso, and then exhaling and allowing it to come back to midline. And again, inhaling width, and then exhaling and retracting. One more time. Inhaling width, and then exhaling and feeling it retract. Okay, on your next breath, one hand over the collarbone, one hand down onto the pubic bone. This time, take 3 slightly then slower than normal inhalations into the bottom of the pelvis and all the way up to the top of the lungs, top of the collarbones, breathing length. And then again, exhaling and allowing the body to come back to midline. Now, as you inhale, notice if your body shifts or lifts or tips on the roller as that inhale comes in. Don't stop it from happening. That's you altering that oscillation of the diaphragm, altering the nervous system's connection. One more time. Inhalation, expanding. And then exhalation and retracting. Okay, last technique is called the 3D breath. You're going to place both hands on your belly. This time we're going to force an exhale. So just first, take a nice 6-sided breath into all 6 sides of your body. And on an exhale, notice how your body just naturally comes to the midline. This time you're going to take a nice 6-sided breath, fill your whole torso up, and on your exhale, make a firm SH sound. Go shh. And I want you to keep that sound going until there's no breath left. And when there's no breath left, just hang out there with that exhale and feel that hugging action. And then inhale, let it all go. Try another sound. Try a S sound, like a deflating tire. And what I want you to see if you can sense is a subtle engagement that's hugging your organs from all 6 sides. It's not just front to back, it's side to side, top to bottom. And again, when you get to the end of your exhale, hold it. See if you can sense that engagement. Inhale, let it all go. Try another sound. Try an HA sound. Now, whichever sound draws your attention to that gentle hugging action in your torso, do that sound again for me. Take a 6-sided breath in, and either SHSC or HA. Okay. And again, really feel how that forcing of the exhale, it's like a deflating ball. It's slowly hugging inward, getting smaller and smaller, finding that hug. Again, feeling it on the full exhale, and then inhale, let it all go. Try it one more time. And really see if you can even feel the pelvic floor is lifting. The sides are coming together. Everything is engaging, but your pelvis has not changed. It's still in that neutral position. Now this time, take a 6-sided breath in. On your next exhale, let the natural exhale initiate the breath, but see if in your conscious mind you can feel and follow yourself hugging your organs on your exhale. When you inhale, feel the volume expand. And on the exhale, let your natural exhale initiate the breath, but then feel and follow that hugging action. That's called finding your core. I might ask you to do it later. You can either find it with the SH sound or just with your conscious mind. When you're ready, place your hands back down onto the ground. Do a gentle rock again, back and forth. You might notice that it's easier for you to just fall and relax into the rocking. And then when you're ready, straighten out one of your legs and just slide off the roller on the leg that you straighten out and slide off pelvis, ribs, and then your head. Let the roller slide out from underneath you. And then go ahead and lie flat on your back, palms faced up, arms and legs extended. And let's reassess. So take a breath in. Again, notice how your body expands. On the exhale, notice how it relaxes. Scan your masses and spaces. Now, we didn't do very much, right? We did some breathing sounds. We did some rocking, moved our pelvis, big deal. But if the autopilot has reacquired some connection to your center of gravity, you might notice that we've released the diaphragm. So the arch of the back might be a little bit less tense, and there might be more rib weight. So notice if you're feeling that direct change. You might notice that your butt cheeks are a little more weighted to the ground. And if you're noticing indirect changes, perhaps the back of the thighs are feeling more weighted to the ground, or if you turn your head left to right, you might notice that you freed up some range. And that could actually be linked to the neural core, because the rooted core actually attaches our torso to our skull. So notice if you're feeling that. And then bring your head back to center. That sequence is, for one thing, is to help the autopilot reacquire connection to the center of gravity. So if you divide yourself into a left and a right half, notice if you feel more balanced from left to right. And if you're feeling that balance, you've done a great job creating some change in your autonomic nervous system. How do you feel in that?
Oh yeah, much better.
All right, so now let's keep going. Let's work a little bit on the lower body. So I'm going to have Kara go ahead and bend her knees, and she's going to bring the roller underneath the back of her thighs, and we're going to do a little bit of back thigh shearing. So she's going to go ahead and drop her legs down. Now, if you've never done this before, I'm going to sit up here. What I want you to notice is you're going to twist, and I'm going to have Kara start to open and close her legs as she's twisting. What I want you to notice here, as she's twisting, her feet are staying on the mat, and as she's twisting, her flesh is being left behind. So think about it like kneading dough. It's literally that you are twisting the flesh around the thigh bone by maintaining pressure. Now, to give you a little bit more of an effect of that, if you want, you can bend one knee and put your foot on the floor and just work on one leg at a time. So she's going to swing that leg out and then twist and bring it back in. So really feel like you're twisting the flesh to create that action. Okay, so it's a nice, smooth, easy motion. Just a subtle twist. And then she's going to go ahead and relax that leg, and she's going to try it on the other side. And again, it's a twisting action. So although it doesn't sound like an attractive thing to do, to leave your flesh behind, that's exactly what we want. Is we want to crimp and twist. And the best way to do melt is just how we're doing it, with shorts on. Being in bare skin, best way to go through this technique, right? So this is a shear technique, right? So we're pinning the skin, and we're literally wringing the flesh around the substances beneath to create that shear effect. And then she's just going to go ahead and wait there for a second, give the tissue a moment to adapt. And I'm going to have her push the roller down into the middle of her thighs. I always say it's where you'd imagine cellulite to be on anybody else's legs but yours. And she's going to do the same thing. She can either do one leg at a time or both. Whichever she wants to do is the one that I want her to do. And I'm inviting you to do the same. Whichever way feels best for you, either twisting or pinning and crimping, that's the way to create the best fluid exchange doing this technique. And then same thing, go ahead and just wait there for a second. So just creating a little bit of hydration change just through a shear technique. I'm just giving you an introduction to some of the techniques. Next week when we start on time, we're going to do some neuro strength as well. But I'm going to have Kara go ahead and bend her knees. She's going to lift up her hips, and she's going to bring the roller underneath the back of her pelvis now. Now, where is the back of your pelvis? It is not in your low back. It's in that wide, thick surface of the back of the pelvis. Good ways to tell. If you put your hands on the top of your hip bones, you're not going to find the roller if you run your hands behind. And if you bring your knees up and into your chest, the roller's not going to fly out from underneath you. So with your legs here, I'm going to have Kara go ahead and place her hands onto the sides of the roller. And we're just going to really gently rock the knees a little left and right. And we're going to create something called SI joint shearing. Now, SI joint shear is really particular. I want you to think like your knees are on a clock. You're going from 1 o'clock to an 11 o'clock. You're not going to 10 and 2. So we're going to just slightly tip over to that left side. Find your core. So if you need to, make your SH, SE, or HA sound. And we're going to go ahead and create these small circles with both of our legs. So this is a direct shear. You're maintaining pressure at the SI joint. Your pelvis and your thighs are both moving. You can also maintain your pressure, keeping that slight angle, keeping the right leg still, start to circle just the left leg. And if we start with small circles, and then try to make them a little bit bigger. It doesn't have to be too big. I like having my knuckles underneath my hips because it stops me from going too far. This is an indirect shear. You're moving the hip joint while the pelvis stays stable. Or we could bring our legs together and we could very slowly just march the knees nice and slow forward and back. This is both a direct and indirect shear, just creating that subtle bit of motion. And then we're going to go ahead and bring our legs back together. We're going to wait there for a second. Give the tissue a moment to adapt. Nice breath in and out. Tipping the knees over to the other side. Same thing, we're going to create those small circles. Now, it doesn't necessarily matter which direction you make the circle in, but make it small enough so that you don't start going off to the side hip. There's different ways to approach that, and we'll do that next week. So you could also angle your knees, again, keeping your left leg still and just circling that right leg in circles. And again, if you start with a small circle and then start to make it bigger and bigger, you just don't want to hear or feel any clicking, cracking, snapping, popping, thunking, or crunching. That would mean slow down and make the movement smaller. You could also bring your legs together and really slowly march your knees forward and backward. Again, both direct and indirect here, moving the hip bones and the pelvic bones, so that nice little motion can get a lot done. And then we're going to go ahead and bring our legs back together. We're going to pause here for a second. Nice breath in and out, nice focused breath, find your core. And then bring your legs back to center and go ahead and set your feet down for a second. And earlier on, we did a move called tucking and tilting. And here's a modified tuck and tilt challenge. So with your hands on the front of your pelvis now, let's go ahead and try to tuck the pelvis so that the pubic bone curls towards the nose. Again, notice where the weight of your ribs are. Keep your ribs quiet. Try to untuck the pelvis and land the pelvis back on top of the roller. Trying it again, tucking the pelvis and then tilting the pelvis. Yeah. Again, tucking the pelvis. You see how that's curling under? And then tilting the pelvis. Yep, keeping the ribs quiet. One more time, tucking the pelvis and tilting the pelvis. Okay, so we're going to do a move called a bent knee press. So I'm going to have Kara bring her right knee in towards her chest. She's going to either interlace her hands over the front of her shin or behind the back of her thigh, whichever one you can do. And we're going to take a breath in, and on an exhale, she's going to tuck her pelvis. And in opposition, she's going to feel like she's energizing her knee over her toes as her pubic bone curls towards her nose. So two directions. Once she's got that sensation, she can take a breath in. And on an exhale, to accentuate the tuck, she can draw her right knee towards her chest. And all that's going to do is create more of the sensation of the tuck. She's going to inhale, ease back the tension. And on the exhale, we're going to create that fascial tension. Awesome. And then she's going to let that go. She's going to set her right foot back down to the ground. I always try to really find a firm footing on the ground. And then she's going to go ahead and bring her opposite knee in. And again, just interlace your hands, but don't pull on that leg yet. See if you can actually acquire the fascial pull by tucking your own pelvis with your mind and your body. And then notice if that right knee swings out to the right side. If it does, just realign the knee straight ahead. And same thing, in equal timing, you're tucking the pubic bone toward the nose as we're drawing tensional length and trying to bring the knee over the toes. And then once you have it, take another breath in. And on an exhale, you can draw that left knee towards your chest to accentuate the tuck as you energize the knee over the toes. And it's not a stretch like a muscle stretch. It's more fuzzy and long and subtle. Try it one more time. Inhaling. And on an exhale, we're going to go ahead and create that push-pull, a reaching of the knee and a tucking of the pelvis in opposition. Okay, let's try another lengthening technique. She's going to take her hands away from her leg. She's going to kick her leg out low and long, flexing her foot. She's going to think now a tilt of the pelvis. So now the pelvis is going to land on the top of the roller. She's going to flex her foot, and really slowly, we're going to bring that leg up, and we're going to stop before her leg gets perfectly perpendicular. So watch me here. Notice that we didn't come all the way up here. We're angling it down a little bit. You want to stop before your knee wants to bend, where you feel like you've got a really nasty pull in just one region of the body. If I invite Kara to just flex and point her ankle a few times, she's going to feel a little bit of a stretch in the calf muscle. But to find fascial tension, she's going to keep her ankle flexed, and she's going to try to tilt the back of her pelvis onto the top of the roller as she elevates that heel towards the sky. So again, two directions. Pelvis is going toward the roller, heel is going to the sky. She's going to inhale, ease back some of that intention to find tension. And then she's going to exhale, flex, and sink. Tilting the pelvis is tricky here. You're thinking pubic bone in between the legs, keeping that nice natural curve. And then we're going to go ahead and let it go. Just going to set that leg on down. We're going to do the same thing on the opposite leg. We're going to go ahead and kick that leg out low and long. And when you're here, think about it. Your right foot, if your left leg is out, your right foot is light on the floor, right? The leg that's here is light. That's going to get your pelvis heavier. And again, we're going to flex the foot, and we're going to nice and slow bring that leg up. And we're going to stop before that leg gets perpendicular to the roller, or we feel like the knee wants to bend. Again, if we just want to check out the calf stretching, we could just flex and point the ankle a few times, noticing for that fascial pull. I'm going to keep the ankle flexed. And once that ankle is flexed, we're going to think about tilting the pelvis onto the top of the roller. Now, to acquire true fascial tension, we're going to inhale, ease back the tension on the ankle and the pelvis tilt. And on the exhale, equal timing, we're going to flex and tilt at the same time. And that should give you a nice tugging sensation down the whole back side of the leg. Feel like you have that, yeah? And then we're going to go ahead and let that go. And we're going to bend the knee and set it back down to the ground. Now, try your modified tuck and tilt again, tucking and tilting the pelvis. And you might find that now you can actually move the pelvis with a little bit more efficiency and a little bit less movement in the rib wall. And if you're noticing that reacquisition of differentiated motion will help your low back, especially if you have low back pain. So let's go ahead and bring our knees into the chest, or you can just lift up your hips and roll the roller out from underneath you, whichever you want. And then go ahead and lie back down onto your back, palms up, arms and legs extended. Now, what I like to notice here is the changes that I make directly. So if you're feeling your pelvis is a little bit more relaxed on the ground, or the back of thigh masses is settled to the floor, make a note for yourself, because next week when we add the core challenge to this technique and the low back decompress, you might actually find that you even get more of that release to the leg. So just notice what you have in that modified treatment. Notice that the arch of the back feels more lifted, only the lift is closer to the pelvis and not under your ribs anymore. How do you feel over there?
Wow.
Different?
It feels all puffier, so much more hydrated.
I love that, like a fluffy body. That's what I always say. My butt kind of feels like I have fluffy butt cheeks after that one. And this is indirect, but turn your head left and right. We didn't do anything for the neck, but you might actually find that you free up tension in your neck from adding some hydration through the neurocord with those techniques.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so notice that, okay? So now let's go ahead and finish with a neck release sequence. I don't want to run too far over. My apologies for being so late today. Okay, so bend your knees, and you're going to take your roller and you're going to place it right behind the base of your skull. Now, where's the base of your skull? Friends,
Here.
it is, no, that is not true, right? So the base of the skull isn't under the neck. It's at the base of the skull. So the base of the skull is this whole region here. So once you're there, a good way to tell you've got the roller in really a sweet spot is if you tip your nose up to the sky a little bit and then start to turn your head left and right. If the roller starts to slip out from underneath your head, you started with it a little bit too high. So it's a good way to tell. If it slips into your neck, you started with a little too low. So feel free to just finesse it. If you need to move it down a little bit or up a little bit, see what you have. And then once you think you have it in the right place, I'm going to have Kara get into a half back pose. So she's going to go ahead and drop her arm out, drop her body down, and she's going to get back into the roller. And let's actually do the full one. Yeah. So she's got her ear hole on the roller. And then all she's going to do is just roll her head back a little bit. And that's going to get her right behind the base of her skull. And when she's there, she's going to go ahead and create some small circles with her head. Now, again, this is a shear technique. So she's pinning the skin. She might even want to try a no direction of the head, like as if she's saying no to pain, right? So we're pinning the skin and kind of crimping it towards the ear and then pulling it away so that it's kind of getting wrinkled when she turns her nose to the roller and it gets tight and tense away.
I'm much more successful with like the shift back and forth
yeah.
and the circles
Yep.
still.
Yeah, and that's like everybody. Everybody's got a good way to do it, a way that's going to work for them. So now she's going to wait here for a second. And she's going to get into a half back pose. So she's going to go ahead and clam her bottom leg or top leg open. She's going to outreach this bottom arm a little bit and see how she's moved a little further back. And now she's going to do the same thing. She creates small circles. And I wonder, let's go ahead and lift your head up for a second. I'm just going to bring it down a little to see if that makes it easier for you to turn. Yeah, so you're still on your skull.
I am. Okay.
Yeah, and that's it. It's okay if your neck touches the roller, as long as you're not compressing the roller, because one of the methods of melting is we don't compress the spaces. We just compress masses to draw fluids towards spaces. Yeah,
And I get it. I like it. It's at the base of the occipital, right, where it curves under. And so it's a nice place to be.
Exactly. And then same thing, she can wait there for a moment, give the tissue a moment to adapt. Nice breath in and out. And then I'm going to have Kara flip on over so that you can still see her. So spin around for me.
This way?
Yeah, so that so your head's going to come over here. And you guys can just flip around if you want. But again, don't be afraid on this one. So watch how she starts perfectly side lying. I want her to get off of her shoulder. She's going to outreach that bottom arm. Her ear hole is on the roller. And then she's just going to go ahead and roll her head back a little bit. And then when she's there, she's going to go ahead and create the small circles. So again, this is one of these areas where you do get close to a space, right? We're very close to a space, but you want to feel like your pressure is constant on the mass of the skull. You're not on the space at all. Okay, so really think about where you're compressing. And again, it's either a subtle no motion or a sliding of the head forward and back or circles. And then again, she's going to wait there for a second. And then she's going to clam that top leg open. She's going to outreach that bottom arm, kind of shifting a little further back. Same thing, creating small circles or shifting. And I'm always thinking of keeping my shoulders relaxed on this one. You might even want to try pushing into the foot that's on the floor to feel like if you pushed into your foot, would that maintain your pressure on your skull? And then ease that pressure back and notice if you can feel the sliding and gliding on the underlying surfaces of the skin. That's really what you're looking for. And then same thing, she's going to pause there for a second, wait. And then she's going to go ahead and lie on her back with her knees bent. She's going to get that roller again right at the base of her skull. And she's got it. And then same thing, she's going to either create figure eights or small circles or again, a little shifting. And again, all we're looking for is sort of pinning the skin and dragging it on the underlying surfaces, right? So we're not rubbing her skin against the roller. We're pinning the skin and shifting it back and forth, right? So the skin is being left behind to create a shear effect anywhere in the body. It doesn't matter. And then same thing, we're going to go ahead and compress and wait here for a second. Nice focused breath. And then grab onto your roller, and you're going to move the roller more onto the center of the back of your head. And once you have it there, she's going to take a breath in. And on an exhale, she's going to nod her nose down, but she's not going to lose the space into the front of the neck. Instead, she's going to think like somebody's pulling her hair long to get that length. And then she's going to keep that pressure constant. And then on the exhale, tip her nose back up. She's going to take a breath in. On an exhale, she's going to nod down. Again, the energy comes out of the crown of her head. Notice that she's not losing that neck space. She's going to take that breath in. And on the exhale, again, she's going to allow the chin to float back up. One more time, taking a breath in. On an exhale, again, she's going to nod it down. And she's going to take another breath in. And on an exhale, she'll lift the chin back up again. Okay, so she's going to go ahead and get rid of the roller. I want you to do the same. Go ahead and lie on your back one more time, palms faced up, arms and legs extended. Again, we haven't done much in this session, but these are some of the very basic foundations. If you can master these next week when I add some of the neurostrength techniques and then actually have a neurostrength class on the third one, we'll make some changes. So again, noticing the masses and spaces. Remember what we started off trying to identify. If we have accumulative stress altering the fine balance of our masses and spaces, we felt all of these imbalances throughout the body. If now you're noticing more weight on the rib wall, less weight on the shoulder girdle, in a sense, the shoulders are more wide. The shoulder blades are actually a wide structure. So ideally, you're feeling more of the weight between the blades and throughout the rib wall. You might notice that the arch of the back is open, but less tense and more lifted below the navel. If you're noticing the butt cheeks or back of thighs have settled to the floor, all again, great indications that we've created some changes through fascia to alter the nervous system's connection to the center of gravity. And of course, dividing yourself into a left and a right half if you feel more balanced, or if you turn your head left and right now and you feel like you freed up range, decreased pain, or your shoulders stay still, all great ways to, again, learn how to restore neurological efficiency by way of fascia. It's an interesting concept. How do you feel, Kara?
Much better.
Yeah, I wish I had done all of that. I'm going to have to melt too. So I'm going to have Kara go ahead and roll on her side. Come on up to sitting. I see a lot of questions. So I'm going to see if I can answer a couple before we end today and see if anybody's got some questions. I see that some of them were already answered. I'm going to scroll all the way up to the top. Yeah, my apologies for all the technical difficulties. Brand new. I have never in my life done YouTube, and my team left it up to me to do it. They taught me how to do it, and it still didn't work today. So I really tried, and I'm sorry, and I'm sure I'll do better next time. So forgive me for being so horribly late for a class. Any suggestions for somebody who has a couple of tennis balls around but no other equipment? I would use tennis balls for tennis is what that would be my suggestion with tennis balls, is use them for tennis. But you can do other techniques with tennis balls. There's all sorts of programs that use bigger balls on the body, and maybe go ahead and do that. But our goal is to restore neurofascial stability. That's the component of it. Let me see, any other questions? I don't see anything. Yeah, how do I know who's here, Michelle? Is because I can see you guys on the side. And so I see the chats. That's about the best I can do for you guys. And again, you can use anything, that you have. I developed the rollers. The rollers are just a specific size and density. And again, they're soft. So they're just more gentle, which is really the goal of this, to be able to do this. So let me give you a little bit of a lowdown on what's going to happen next week. And again, I'm apologizing one more time for just showing up so late to my own class, but I'm sure I will figure this out and get a couple of more classes. I tried to log on early, and that was an imminent failure. So this week, the goal was just the 4 R's protocol: reconnect, rebalance, rehydrate, release, just giving you a little taste. Next week, I want to do a melt performance class, which adds a little bit of neuro strength and the hydration of melt. And on our week 3, I'd like to do a neuro strength class, which if you're a member of Melt On Demand, if you go to the sports and athletic maps, you're going to see all sorts of neuro strength maps, which are ways to neurologically reintegrate the stability components of the shoulder girdle, pelvis, and core. They're very nuanced techniques, but you start adding those techniques to your life, it will change your life. It will change stability. You will find changes, and it's just, I think, the easiest way to restore efficiency. I don't know if these are on replay, and I don't know if we want this one on replay, but maybe I'll do another recording where I don't show up late and I don't have antlers on, and I can give you guys another live class.
Learning takes humility.
Here it is, exactly. First time for everything. I can't say that it went well, but I hope
Zoom
that you
experts after
exactly. I'm a Zoom expert for sure, but live is new. So I hope that you guys enjoyed the class. I will be back next week, maybe at 3:45, and see if I can get it to work 15 minutes early for you guys, so that we are sure that we are on and can do a full hour class of melt performance. Thank you guys so much for being part of the Melt community. You can go to meltmethod.com and find out more, and I'm sure that we can connect with you guys for the next one. But again, thank you guys so much for coming to the class. Love you. Happy melting.
Happy melting. Your people don't care.